Hey guys, Naz here. Today I'm going to take you through two methods that I use for patterning open mouths. And I'll start off by saying open mouths are really tricky, and the techniques I'm going to show you will only work for specific plushes. So personally, I'm still working it out. So I'm most comfortable with making open mouths on plushes with little muzzles like dragons, dogs and things like that, rather than really round faces. But you can always try this technique on any plush you're working on and just experiment and see how it goes. So what I've done here is I've printed out my profile piece of my pattern, which is for my little open mouth Charmander. And if you'd watched my previous video tutorial on how to make gussets, you would have seen that we would have made the pattern as if he had a closed mouth like this. So we would have made our gusset that goes all the way around, but now we want to put an open mouth in there. So what I've done is this profile piece is just traced off a profile ripped from the internet, and that profile also had an open mouth in it. So you're going to draw in your open mouth, which is usually just a simple V shape. You can add a bit of curve to it if you want, but anyway, the first thing you want to do is you want to make that mouth a little bit wider than you actually want it to turn out. This mouth will only be about that wide. Really, it's not going to have a huge opening, so I've extended it a little bit because when you're making open mouths, the jaws are always going to want to compress in on each other. I guess it has something to do with the fabric, I'm not really sure, but it's just what happens. So anyway, yeah, you're going to make that mouth a little bit wider than you want it to turn out, just to account for that crunching sort of thing that happens. Anyway, now what we're going to do is we're going to get our long pieces of paper as if we were making a gusset, and I'm just going to fold that in half to get my nice straight center line. And I'm going to grab a pen, my ruler, and I'm just going to draw in that center line. Now what we're doing is we're going to mark the key points in our open mouth. So we have the tip of the nose, which I'll call point 1. We have the inside, which is point 2, and we have the chin, which is point 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially extend the gusset inside the mouth and make that interior mouth cavern. So I'll mark point 1 at the top of my gusset that we're drafting, and I'll get my flexible ruler and I'll measure point 1 to point 2, and that's 9 centimeters. So I'll copy that over onto my gusset, and then we have point 2, and this is quite simple because it's just a straight line. So point 2 to point 3 is 7.5. So I will just chop the excess off this piece of paper because we don't need it. And now what we're going to do is we would usually have the rest of our gusset draft. So we'll say that the nose gusset ends at about this width, and that goes off into whatever shape it goes up and over the head, and our chin will probably be about the same. So that's the piece that wraps all the way around the head that we've already patterned previously. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by imagine the gusset going around the nose and then it kinks into the mouth. So what we want to do at point 1 is we want to match the width that we have on the edge of our nose. Now you might pattern your nose with just 2 pieces against each other, and that's fine, but you will need a rough idea where to start that center point for the nose. So I'll measure it, and let's say both of these are 1.5 centimeters wide. So we're going to come over, and at 1 we're going to go 1.5 centimeters. And we know that at 3 it needs to match up to 1.5 centimeters as well. So I'll just eyeball that. Now, the main thing that we need to think of is what sort of shape do we want the inside of the mouth to go. And we don't want it to be too thin because otherwise you're going to get this weird, really thin jaw. So we essentially want it to go from narrow to here to a bit wider. So you have the pointiness of the pointiness of the nose going to a wider mouth. So most of the time I'm just going to guesstimate. And it's good if you've already made a test version of the plush without the open mouth, because then you can say the mouth is naturally this wide, so I want my gusset to be this wide as well. So I'm going to guess here. And there we have the width of the gusset that goes into point 2. So this gusset is going to go between your two profile pieces like this, and they're going to meet at the front. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to join all those lines up. And we'll cut them out. And this is the piece that's going to form our open mouth, like this. So you're going to have your profile meeting with this gusset, and the gusset, the rest of the plush will have a gusset that goes around the edge as well, like that. And then your other profile piece is going to sit on top, and that's going to give you this nice little mouth cavern there. And what you can do after you're finished sewing and stuffing your plush is you can get a doll needle and some strong thread, and you can actually shape this mouth a little bit. So start, if you wanted to, instead of having sort of a boofy shape here, you want to take your doll needle, tie a little knot, probably take it in from somewhere that you're not going to see, and then pull this down to get more of a concave shape. And you can do that for the top two, which helps give you that more cavernous open mouth sort of effect. What you can also do is round off the corners if you want on these pieces, and they'll still fit nicely in there. Just gives it a bit more of a natural effect. So you kind of imagine it like a little duck's mouth or something. And what you can do is you could I usually make the top half of the open mouth the colour of the plush, and I make this bottom half here pink, or the colour of the tongue. I find if you, because you're going to see the edges of this piece of fabric poking out. When you've sewn the whole piece, you're going to get a little bit of overlap where the seam is. And if you have, say I use pink for the top piece, you're going to get almost like a lipstick effect, which doesn't look very good. So I find that you get a good open mouth effect if you just use the pink for the tongue and just have the roof of the mouth in the colour of the plush. But obviously it depends on what you're going for. Or you could applique a little tongue onto here, which is what I usually do before you actually sew it in. Sometimes I will split these pieces so that I can have my naps going in different directions. So I might want the top nap to go this way, and I might want the bottom nap to go that way. So that's as simple as cutting and separating those pieces. So now I'll go onto my computer and I'll show you another way for patterning an open mouth. And here we are on my computer in Photoshop. I'm going to now show you another way to pattern open mouths. I haven't done this one in a while, but I thought it would be good to mention to you guys in case you were interested. So here's a really old plush of mine, Mega Charizard. And you can see here, he has a nice open mouth. It's definitely a plush, though I would probably plush open mouth, it looks really good. And what I did was I patterned his body as you would, a big bean with that long neck. And instead of making the head a whole piece like I did with Charmander, I just made the top of his head and attached it to his neck. So it did look quite funny at the time. But what I did is I made the bottom of his mouth separately. And what you could do is you could either make it hollow or you could make it into a solid piece like I did back here. So all this is one piece and this is a separate piece. And it gives you a lot more control of where you place that bottom jaw and what angle, etc. And it also gives a nice natural look of the neck joining into the head. So that's another option. If you wanted to make this hollow, you would probably just pattern it. Think of like patterning a circle. So you would have your sphere pieces, but you would sort of chop them off at the back, and you would make 4 of these, sew them all together, put some quilt batting in, and you'd obviously shape it to your desired shape, but then you could have a hollow mouth and just hand stitch that onto that lower, where that lower jaw should be, sort of thing. And that's another way to do an open mouth. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know open mouth is a really tricky thing to do, so if you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on Patreon. This video is for my Patreon supporters only. If you have any other suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll definitely get to them for you. I'm sorry I haven't had a lot of videos this month. I've been taking the last of my sewing classes before I move. So I've stopped those now, so I should be back into making lots more videos, making more plushes, because I won't be taking Fridays off every week to do my sewing lessons, which is sad. But anyway, I wish you luck with patterning your open mouths, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye!